It's ready.
Okay. Okay, we are recording, so we'll call the meeting to order. The roll call, please.
All members are present.
Okay, thank you. No, Danny's not here yet.
And this letter. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, just.
All members are present except for Danny Shelton.
Very good. I have a motion to approve the agenda. Okay, motion by Pete, second by Dave. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. Minutes from the February 10th meeting. Moved by Dave, second by Rick. Are there any questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public, Mr. We can. So, okay. We'll amend the agenda then and move the veteran service report up to like now. Oh, you just want to beg off. Okay. All right.
In February, we saw 49 client appointments, 9 outreach, health and welfare checks, 651 phone calls and electronic mails combined. Specifically on February 19th, my PIV for VA card was actually turned on, so I have access to VA now. February 26th, WDVA Bureau of Programs and Services monthly training, which we do through the internet. February 27th, moved donation equipment over to ADRC for storage. We had an abundance of wheelchairs and electric, all sorts of stuff. I took a bunch of it over there. We also facilitated the floor replacement in a bathroom for one of our veterans, and combined with ACE hardware, his toilet would have fallen through the floor.
Plus we got a grant for a roof through Juneau County. So hopefully that's gonna be put on.
You have to turn your mic on.
We also got a grant through Juneau County for that same veteran to get his roof redone. So we're hoping that's gonna be put on by this month.
Very good.
And then in reference to when we saw you out at our office, as far as having veterans coming to the door and it's locked, we're going through the steps. I ordered a scrolling ticker sign that'll go out in the window. If we're in an appointment, it's going to flash an appointment. Please call for appointment. If we're available, it'll say available. And if we're not in, it'll say not in. We're going to try to make it so that it's easier for them to see the sign that says it'll be an LED. So it'll be bright and flashing as opposed to just, a storefront turning thing. We're going to make it more accessible as well, that if we have to be out of the office, we'll have a little thing outside as well that they can pull tab the phone number on, and then it'll say, please make an appointment if this is out here to call. So
Very good. Sounds
we'll
like
make sure that we're giving them easier access to us.
Sounds like you're working real hard at that, Pete.
Thanks. Just a question. With all the federal cuts, have you had any information or any thoughts on that have come to you, or any information been sent to you about that?
No, we're county employees. We don't work for the VA, so we're not federally funded. Yeah, none whatsoever federal funding. So all of our grants come through WDVA, Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs, out of Madison. That's federally funded. I'm not sure if we have $3,200 left from our ARPA funds that got, it's got approval to extend that to March 31st. I don't know if they tried to pull that back because we didn't spend it, which if they pulled it back, I'm not, gonna be bad about it. You know, it's money saved.
So it's only indirectly to federal to state.
Yeah, yeah.
Would
The-
be it.
What they're
Okay.
doing to the VA, they're getting rid of some of the, they had paying somebody $50,000 to water like 6 plants and all that stuff. That's where, you know, the VA is actually,
Working on it.
yeah. So
Thanks.
there's some waste up there that they need to cut, just like everywhere.
Thank you.
Be careful what you call waste.
Well, me. Just kidding on me.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for these gentlemen? Okay, thank you very much for your report. I'm glad you could come.
Thank you.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you, you too. Okay, now then we will go on to the Health and Human Services Fleet Vehicle Policy.
So that policy was included in your packet. The committee has approved this policy before back in 2020 when the fleet was new to Health and Human Services. Just a quick summary of the updates. We changed removing the charge out and financial information. Things have changed, so we updated that area. We removed the use of magnetic door signs. We used to have a sticker on the side of the car that said Adams County. We removed that. Not only would it kind of scratch, but also some places we're visiting, we don't necessarily want to announce where we're going, and some anonymity for people we're visiting. We added Fleetio for maintenance items. That's a new tracking software system that finance has deployed. We are adding information about what to do if you need to tow or have a flat tire, who the contact is. We realized we need that information in the policy. We updated the cleaning protocol. There have been a lot of discussion back to COVID, and now it's just a regular cleaning protocol. And then just standardized renumbering and formatting.
Does anyone have any questions? Pete?
Yeah, Kelly, ADRC was talking about being unable to get drivers because they can't use vehicles, correct?
That's correct.
Is there any avenue to change that or to, make those vehicles available to?
So that would be a decision the county would need to make, whether or not to add volunteer drivers to the liability policy. Our understanding is that that's more complicated because they're not employees, they're
Yeah.
volunteers. So that's an issue. And that's
Well,
kind of where we're stuck right now.
Yeah, she's having trouble getting people to
Mhm.
transport. Thanks.
Anyone else? You need a motion to approve these? Okay, could I have a motion to approve this? Motion by Rick, second by Pete to approve. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Okay, motion carried. Policy is approved. Behavior health, court ordered and or intoxicated driver program, IDP clients. Is this all one or are we doing these separately?
They're two separate policies, but if you want, we can talk them both at the same time.
Committee? Okay,
So it was brought to our attention. We have some additional supervision of our substance use services by an outside contractor who brought up, some changes that are occurring and some best practices. So by adding the court-ordered and/or intoxicated driver program clients, AODA assessments, and participation requirements policy, it really just outlines the expectations for a client who's coming in for specific programming in those areas. it sets up the requirement for substance screening, the need for a collateral contact for the therapist to verify the information they're getting in therapy, and then the requirement for regular participation in group, in group. And then that does align with the best practices for that type of service. So we're just kind of cleaning up policy and really putting it in so that consumers understand the expectation when they come in for services.
Any questions? Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Will this not help people that may need help, that they won't come in based on this policy?
I think one of the things is it's being a lot more clear about the expectation when people come in for services. Clinicians have to sign off on the person's participation in the programming and that they are substance free and engaged in the services that they are being abstinent. So by being honest about the requirements, it's also laying it out for the consumer because they're court ordered. They need to complete that. And it gives the therapist some verification outside of just word of mouth that the person is actually following through with what they're required to be doing. Did I say that well?
Yep, and it also allows us,
Yes, you-
it also allows us if, you know, the person is failing on those, we can help get them to a higher level of service if they need an inpatient or residential or more intense outpatient program. So it alerts us to, you know, that they need that higher level of service, and, you know, we work with them so they get placement there so they can successfully complete the requirements for sobriety to get their driver's license back, for example.
Rick?
So if somebody comes in and says, oh, I'm not gonna pass that drug test, so I'm not gonna take it, do you automatically move them to that next level then, or what do you do?
We would have a further discussion of what their use looks like. Is this a one-off today? You were nervous and, you know, had something to study the nerves, or is this a typical day and, you know, you're halfway through a 24 pack? You know, so I mean, it can vary from person to person and where they're at. So it's seeing where their needs are and what, you know, they need.
Going on, even though
Mhm.
meet the criteria, you still gotta assess that.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's always ongoing assessment in therapy of, you know, where are we at? Where's the person succeeding? What are, you know, challenges or pitfalls that they're having, and how can we help support them to address those? And, you know, what are our capacity here within county to do, and then what can we do with our partners to meet higher needs when they arise?
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, we will need a motion to approve this policy then also. Motion by Dave, second by Pete. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the policy's approved. Behavior health again, clients suspected of being under the influence.
So this policy really just makes it clear of our staff's responsibilities and draws awareness to, in the event that someone is suspected to be under the influence, our responsibility to keep the community safe as well as the consumer, and then how they, if they drove to the appointment, how they would go about getting their vehicle returned. It's really just being quite clear about the expectations, making sure consumers know in advance that this is our policy and this is how we would handle it. And then the steps that we would follow. I should note both policies will also have a client acknowledgement form. So when they come in and meet with their therapist, all of these expectations or processes would be reviewed with them, and they would sign off their awareness of the policy and the procedures. Did I miss anything?
Any questions on this policy? Go ahead, Rick.
I see you're at the end of failure to surrender keys. We only will turn the contact law enforcement if they don't comply?
Yep, if they're like, whatever, I'm driving out of here and walk out the door, then we notify law enforcement for their personal safety and the safety of the community.
Seeing no other questions, can I have a motion to approve this policy?
Yeah.
Motion by Rick, second by Dave. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The project status report. Kelly, do you address that one?
I did put an update out there. I'm just waiting for it to load. So we talked about fleet vehicle policy and you all approved that policy tonight. I'll probably continue to have this on as a project just because we're trying to gather better data as to whether or not we need additional vehicles or not, and some of the challenges we've had with conflicting needs for vehicles. So I'll probably leave that on here. The transition for the senior nutrition program, it's been about a year. We're going to consider that this transition is now complete, and that it was a successful transition to contracting those services. The Families First Preservation Act, right now our child welfare specialist position is vacant. That is a position that has been pretty critical for our involvement in Families First and following through. So some of that responsibility has been shifted to other staff, and we're going to continue to work to try to support children in the community with family or like kin. That's also a policy that we're not sure, or an act that we're not sure what sort of impacts there will be in the future, if any. And then telework, we're still utilizing telework primarily in economic support and occasionally in some other divisions. Our utilization of telework also frees up office space for the staff who need to be in the office. We have some offices that are actually split 3 ways so that we can keep condensing those telework staff so that we have staff spaces for people who meet with consumers on a regular basis. So continuing to use telework. And that's it.
Do you have any questions on the project report? No questions? Okay. We're moving on down to the director's report, manager narratives.
So our narrative was included in the packet. I did in my narrative highlight just some things that were included in the proposed biannual budget. My understanding is that most likely some of these things will change, but what I highlighted were things that would be really great for Health and Human Services, and we're hopeful that we'll see some funding increases, but that's to be determined at this point. It did include also some information about executive orders. There's been a lot of conversation, I think, in our last meeting. We also talked about the numerous executive orders that are occurring right now. There is a lot of conversation about them, but right now there's so much unknown. There are several lawsuits filed. So right now, on a county level, we wait. And we wait to hear the impact. Most likely we'll hear from the state first. Several of our programs have braided funding. So that means they have federal dollars and state dollars. So we're just kind of waiting to determine the impact. Most likely it'll come to the state level and then it'll be come down to the county level. One of the big things we're working on in Health and Human Services is a mandate from one of our state DHS contracts, which requires us to create a culturally and linguistically appropriate services implementation plan. It's referred to as CLASS. That is in the state contract. We have an on-site review coming in May where the reviewer wants to see what we're doing for the class. So we're going to continue to do that work internally until we're told differently. When we reached out to the state said, you must continue with this. It is a requirement in your contract. So we're doing so. It's just a very heavy lift. It is a lot of work and a lot of time. And we're kind of in limbo, but we're continuing because the state is telling us we have to. So until that changes, that's kind of where that is at. So right now we're just doing a lot of waiting. There's been a lot of conversation about the $880 billion that may be cut in Medicaid. There's a lot of documentation that's going out, including the significant impact to businesses if the Medicaid is cut. So just some things to just highlight for people with those, with the conversations about the Medicaid cuts, that 26.4% of Adams County residents are on Medicaid. 37 businesses in Adams County receive Medicaid funding. So that Medicaid funding comes to personal care businesses, your nursing homes, hospitals, clinics, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, here at Health and Human Services, your private practices, your dentist office. So there are potential if they do move towards reducing Medicaid, there could be significant impacts at a local level to several of our businesses. Annually, Adams County has $23.8 million that flows in through the county through Medicaid. So just some things to just draw your attention to, and I can send out a couple documents that just highlight Medicaid and what it is. Any questions?
Pete?
Erin Schiffel's report on Children and Family Services. I'm just curious, are we servicing anybody out of state still? Does she have any clients out of state that she has to visit quarterly or whatever it is?
Not currently.
Good. Thank you.
That does it. Okay.
That could change at any moment, just depending on the youth that comes into care or the youth's needs, but not currently.
Anyone else have any questions? Kelly shared some Medicaid information with me through Donna Richards. I'd like her to send it on to you, the rest of the committee, because it's all information that could help you with talking to the community. Okay. We're to the financial report.
The financial reports are in the packet. We have our December because we had some back posting, and I think that's the veterans one. We had some back posting, so we're getting closer to our December. I think we don't have a final December until about April, when all of our grant reconciliations finalize and the auditors assist with some of that. So this is sort of a good snapshot of where we're at. We are going to have a positive fund balance again at the end of the year.
Questions, comments? Nothing? Yeah. Well, is there anything else to come before this committee? Our next meeting will be April 14th, 4 p.m. Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.